Um, let's begin. Again, this is a large topic, but being that we're in the week of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, appropriate to talk about the related topics. So, based on tomorrow's shir, those in my shir will be Yom HaZikaron. Will be about Yom HaZikaron, messages of Yom HaZikaron. Today we'll discuss Mitzvah. There are a lot of related topics. We could talk about the Kfi of Yom HaAtzmaut. Maybe we'll talk about that Wednesday night. But the Mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, the Mitzvah of living in the land of Israel. We know a Jew is allowed to live anywhere in the world except for two places. One is in Egypt. A Jew is not allowed to live in Egypt. That's a separate topic. How is it that many Jews lived in Egypt? It says 3 times in the Torah that a Jew is not allowed to live in Egypt. The Rambam lived in Egypt. So how is that possible that the Rambam and the Radbaz and Rabbi Yosef and many of the other greats in history lived in Egypt? So, but a Jew generally can't live in Egypt, and that has to be explained. A Jew can't live on Rabbi. That's the other place a Jew can't live. That's a Makom Kadosh. You're not allowed to even walk on Rabbi. Every other place in the entire world, technically a Jew is allowed to live. But there seems to be, as we'll talk about, certain sources that tell us where a Jew should live, not where a Jew can live, but where a Jew should live. A drush on the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph. I hope some of you have the sources here. If you have them on your email, you could look at, or on the WhatsApp, at least send out. But the source is Shabbos Lamed Aleph, the famous 6 questions that we're going to be asked in the future. One of them being Kavati Itim La Torah. Did you set aside time for Torah? That's the Pshu Dilsha Mikra. We have to set aside time to learn Torah. But one of my favorite varts of all time is said by a Medrash, but it's quoted there in the Menachem Tzion in source number 2. Kavati Itim La Torah, on a deeper level, means in life we have to be Kovea the Itim, the Torah. We have to set the times, our lives to the Torah. The Torah is what's fixed. The Torah is the anchor. And we have to set our lives to the Torah, not chas v'shalom the opposite. Our lives are the anchor, and the Torah, whatever parts of the Torah fit in, I'll take that, and the rest I'll discard. This part works for me, this part doesn't. No. To be kovea the itim to the Torah, not the Torah to the itim. So that applies in every area of life, but especially in this area of where a person lives. Obviously, it's a major question. There are certain mitzvos that, quote unquote, impinge and affect our lives more than many other mitzvos. Keeping Shabbos is a major one. Keeping kosher is a major one. Taras Mishpacha is a major one. Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is a major one. Deciding where we are going to live is what we're going to talk about in the next couple of minutes. Again, from one perspective, there are many, many sources related. We're going to give some of the major sources related. And this was already a question that the Sefer Kuzari, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, one of the great Rishonim, one of the early Rishonim, in source number 3, the Sefer Kuzari discusses. He was asked. Remember, the Sefer Kuzari was written. It's a made-up story, conversation between the Kuzar, the king of the Kuzars, which is a nation that he was going around to try to find the right religions. He speaks to a Christian clergy and he speaks to a Muslim clergy. And he comes to a Jew, and the whole book is all about talking to the Jew about philosophy, about Jewish philosophy. So one of the questions he asks is it interesting that you spend all of your prayers talking about Jerusalem and talking about, coming back to Eretz Yisrael? It's been 1,000 years. Rabbi Levi lived about 1,000 years after the Churban. 1,000 years since you were exiled. So do you really mean it? Do you really want to go there? And the language of the king of the Kuzars, when he says to the Jew, to the Chaver, he says, Ani ro eshesh tachaber yascha v'kriyascha it's like a fake. People choose places other than the land of Israel to live in by choice. How is it that you daven v'sachazena einenu? You daven that we should go back. What is the chaver? For every question that the king asks, he has an answer. This is the only one. He has no answer. Amar chaver hovashtani melakuzar. You've embarrassed me. This is how we messed up in Vayesheni. Ezra Sofer. You don't get a rabbi greater than Ezra Sofer. Ezra says, come back. And how many Jews came back? 12,000 Jews came back. Most of the Jews said, they could have built a base of Mikdash. And they said, we're in Babel. We like it here. We're comfortable. We're good. And that was then. So the Sefer Kuzari already almost 1,000 years ago, 900 years ago, already said, this is a difficult mitzvah that many of us are falling and not fulfilling. So let's talk a little bit about it from a halachic perspective, and then maybe we'll have some ideas relating to our generation specifically. Point number one is that the first time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to each of the avos, he mentioned Eretz Yisrael. Each one. The first conversation Hashem had with Abraham, with Yitzchak, with Yaakov, with Moshe. Every conversation, the first one had to do with Eretz Yisrael. Source number 4. What's the first word that we know that Hashem said to Avraham Avinu? Hashem al Avram, Lech Lecha. The first explicit words in the Torah. Lech Lecha me'artecha miladzcha. V'beis avicha l'Eretz asher arecha. Go to the land that I'm going to show you. Right, Bereshis, Perek Chavav. Hashem appears to Yitzchak. Yitzchak wants to go down to Mitzrayim. What does Hashem say? No, you can't. Dur ba'aretz hazos. You need to stay here. Yayem chavav erecheka. Yaakov Avinu. By the first time that we find explicitly Hashem talks to Yaakov Avinu by the ladder. Hashem nitzav alav Yomar. Source number 6, the beginning of Vayetze. That's pretty central. The first conversation that Hashem has with each of the avos is about Eretz Yisrael. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we live in an unbelievable door. But certain door, if we were born in Israel, then this sheer is, okay, I live here already. If we lived in a different generation where it was not shaykh to live there, in some generations, we were persecuted, whatever it is, it's also, but it's a conversation that we have to have in this generation. The centrality of the land is clear from the first conversations that Hashem had with each of the avos, and it's even clear from the first Rashi in Chumash. First Rashi in Chumash. You look in source number 7, Rashi, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Aleph, and Bereshis. What is the first Rashi? We all know it, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, mysterious Rabbi Yitzchak. It's a medrash. Some say he's quoting his father. Rashi's quoting his father. He wants to quote his father at the beginning of Chumash. But it might just be that he found the medrash that has Rabbi Yitzchak's name, which also was his father's name. But either way, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, the Torah should have started off with the first mitzvah given to Am Yisrael. The mitzvah Rishonah should have started by Yisrael, the first mitzvah that we were commanded. So why do we have Sefer Bereshis? What's the purpose of everything before Parshas Bo? Says Rashi, unbelievable. What's the message? Why do we have Sefer Bereshis? To teach us that the Jews are the ones that have a connection to Eretz Yisrael. That is the first Rashi in Chumash. If any of the other nations ever tell us, you are thieves that you stole our land. Im omrim lahem. He says, you're trying to put the Marma comments on the screen? Oh, there you go. First Rashi. Just go to scroll down to the next page. Right, the first Rashi is source.
I took it off. I'm trying to figure out
that Eretz Yisrael belongs to Am Yisrael. So the centrality of the land is clear from many sources. The question that we have to discuss, that we're going to discuss, is so what does that mean in terms of living there? That is our question. The centrality is not debated. Can't be someone who opens up a chumash and not see the centrality. But the question is, what about regarding the mitzvah? So this is a very famous machlokas, or it is a machlokas. The question is, how basic and wide is the machlokas between the Ramban and the Rambam? The pasuk says in Parshas Matos, in source number 8, the pasuk says, Hashem says to Moshe, beautiful, there it is in source number 8. speak to Bnei Yisrael, when you cross the Yarden into Eretz Canaan, V'horashtem es kol yoshvei aretz b'bnechem. You shall drive out all of the people who live there if they don't want to leave, right? They could stay if they want to become a Gerei Tosha. V'horashtem es haaretz yishavtem ba. You shall drive out the Canaanim and the Chiti and the Amori, and you shall settle there. Yishavtem ba. Ilochem nasati es haaretz l'resh osa. Because to you I have given this land l'resh osa. Says the Ramban. In at least two places, this is a mitzvah aseh d'oraisa. One of the 613 is to live in the land of Israel. Are you allowed to live outside the land of Israel? You're not committing an avera. There's a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael. That's the Ramban, source number 9. The Ramban, remember, most of his life he lived in Chutz La'aretz, he lived in Europe, and then he came to Eretz Yisrael towards the end of his life. Al daitizu mitzvah sasehi, says the Rabban, this is a mitzvah saseh. It's save otsam sheyishmu ba'aretz v'yirshu osa. You have to live there. It's not lahem, it's given to us. Below yimasu b'nachlas Hashem. There are a number of parts of the mitzvah according to the Ramban. Not to be disgusted by the nachlas Hashem. Somebody can live in Eretz Yisrael and hate it, right? They're not fulfilling the mitzvah in shleimusa. Because part of the mitzvah is to love it, to appreciate it. Lo yimasu b'nachlas Hashem, not to be disgusted, right? Not rejecting it in terms of a place to live, that's one thing, but even when there, one has to see the good of it. Be'ilu yala daitam, olechas v'lichbosh eretz shinar, or eretz asher, and if it goes up in one's mind to settle and conquer as a Jewish homeland, a different area, sham yabra mitzvah Hashem, be a violation, right? Remember 100 years ago, at one of the Zionist conventions at the beginning of the 20th century, he said, yeah, the Jews could have a homeland. Give them Uganda. Give them somewhere else. And they were thinking, some of the leaders were thinking about it, but Lamaisa, that's a big say. That's worse if you're trying to make another, not just living somewhere else, but making another land, the Jewish homeland. And then he quotes the Gemaras at the end of Masechah Yishuv, and used to roll around in the dust of Eretz Yisrael. That is the Ramban. He acknowledges that according to Rashi, this is not the shot of the pasuk. The Rashi, it just means a Tanai. If you drive them out, then you'll be able to live there. And if not, then they're going to be thorns and pains for you, for many years. Either way, that is the Ramban on the pasuk in Matos, and that is, of course, the Ramban in Sefer HaMitzvahs. The Ramban, where he adds on mitzvahs that he says the Rambam should have listed but didn't list. The Ramban says in source number 10, mitzvah revius shenitz tavinu lareshes haaretz. Ashenasana kol yisbarach v'yisalal avoseinu la'avram liyisak li'Yaakov. We're commanded to live there. Below naza b'yadzu laseinu in umos, and not to leave it in the hands of others. O lishmama. Right, here is another additional point. Not to leave it desolate. Every time, there's construction, right? There's a famous joke. We'll make it famous. There's a joke, they say, what is the national bird of Israel? The national bird of Israel is the crane, right? There's construction everywhere. Wherever you look, there's construction. But that's a kiyum of this mitzvah, of lishmama, right? You can't leave it desolate. Every building up of the land is a little kiyum of the mitzvah. But the Ramban is clear that there is the mitzvah aseh d'oraisa, one of the 613, one of the 248, to live in the land of Israel. And a famous omission. There are 4 or 5 famous omissions of the Rambam. The Rambam does not list this as a separate, independent one of the 613. That is clear. The question is, why not? That is not clear. Why doesn't the Rambam list it? The Rambam doesn't believe in the centrality of Eretz Yisrael. Of course he does. The Rambam doesn't believe that each of the avos and is the place of the Jewish future. Of course he believes in that. But why doesn't the Rambam count it as a separate mitzvah? So there is the thought of the Megillas Esther. Megillas Esther, one of the classic comments. Subis, remember the Gemara at the end of Subis says Megillas Esther, that there is something called the Shalosh Shvuos, based on Psukim and Shir Hashirim. There is an Aggadic Gemara that says that at some time in history there were 3 oaths that were made. One of them was that we wouldn't go up to Eretz Yisrael en masse until Mashiach comes. So it says the Megillah Esther. You see, we're not supposed to go back to Eretz Yisrael. Mitzvah was only Zman Yeshua and in the future. Chazal said, oh, what about rolling in the dust? What about the beautiful Shevach? Says the Megillah Esther, that's only when we have a Beis Hamikdash and before we went into Galus. So this is the Rambam, and again, like I said, the Tzad Rabbi made this famous. 99.9% of poskim assume this cannot be correct because the Rambam himself, in many different places, quotes the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael halacha l'maisa, and it is not does not seem like from any of these Rambams that they only apply Zman HaMikdash. Right? We learned Maseches Gittin last year. Right? Remember the first parak of Maseches Gittin. The Gemara tells us, and the Rambam quotes it in source 14. The Rambam says in Ilchos Shabbos, "Alokeach bayis be'eretz Yisrael min hagoy." Somebody has a chance to sign on a house in Eretz Yisrael, and he only has Shabbos to sign on the house. So he can't sign on the house himself. That's the malacha daraisa. He can't do a malacha daraisa, to get the house. But muter lo lomer lagoy. Shabbos. A person can tell a goy amir la'akum is muter. Why is it muter? Amir la'akum is usually mitzvah d'Rabbanan. The amir lagoy b'Shabbos asur mitavreim umishum Yishuv Eretz Yisrael logazru b'davar zeh. So it's in a halachic context. The Rambam says Yishuv Eretz Yisrael allows a goy to sign a deed for me on Shabbos to get a house. It doesn't say it's only Bisman Yoshua. The Rambam's writing Mishnah Torah. And the previous 2 halachas, top of this page. I remember the Mishnah said at the end of Ksubis. A man wants to make aliyah, a woman doesn't want to make aliyah. A woman wants to make aliyah. They can each force each other, or an Eved and an Adon. And the Rambam says by Avadim, Din zeh b'chol zman, afilu b'zman hazeh sha'aretz biyad akum. Doesn't make a difference. Right? And the Rambam in Ilchos Malachim at the end of Perek Hey, he quotes all of those Agadatas at the end of Ksubis. Israel used to kiss the ground. Used to kiss the stones, roll around in the dirt. And if you live in Eretz Yisrael, your sins are forgiven. A person should live in Eretz Yisrael, even be your Sharuba Akum. All the Akadatas. Why is the Rambam quoting this? Only Bisman Yoshua? Very, very difficult to suggest. Megillah Esther says that there is no mitzvah according to the Rambam Bisman Hazeh. So the question, therefore, is just a technical one. The Rambam holds it's a mitzvah also Bisman Hazeh. But why doesn't he quote it? That's the only shaila. Why doesn't he quote it? Right? So there are different suggestions given. The stum, it's included in a different mitzvah. That's a popular derech to explain the Rambam. There are many different suggestions given. I gave you 3, 16, 17, and 18. Right? Maybe the Rambam does count Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, but is included in a different mitzvah. But which mitzvah? Number 1, the Avnei Nezer, the Tzachar Shavar. Source 16 says the Avnei Nezer. Greater Avram Bornstein, father of the Shemi Shmuel, son-in-law of the Kutzker, says the Avnei Nezer. Those who did not get to go to Poland this year, I hope that Hashem next year there'll be hopefully Mashiach will be here. We don't have to go to Poland, but if not, hopefully we'll be able to go to Kutz and Tzachar maybe next year. But anyway, says the Avnei Nezer in source 16. Zeh atzmo nirali, where it's underlined. Hatam in Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael. The mitzvah's hachreim tachrimeim. Says the Avnei Nezer. The Rambam does quote the mitzvah of hachreim tachrimeim, driving out the other nations of Eretz Canaan. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to drive them out and they go live somewhere else? Obviously not. The Avnei Nezer says you drive them out in order to live there. That's the purpose of the mitzvah. The Rambam counts step 1 of the process, but it includes step 2 of the process. Mitzvah Achrim Tachrimim Hi Kadesha Nachnu Neshev Ba'aretz. Shara Yoshua Shalach Pragmatutin Misha Rotz Lafanos Yifana Hagagashi Amad. Hagagashi left, and they went to drive them out. They went to live there. You drive them out in order to go somewhere else? It was included in that mitzvah, it says the Avnei Nezer. Or the Eretz Chemda, this is an unbelievable one, for Shol Israeli. The Eretz Chemda, Sefer Eretz Chemda says in source number 17, says, you know what? Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is included in the mitzvah of Birchas Hamazon, benching. You know, the Gemara tells us in Brachas Daf Memches there are 4 items we have to mention in benching, or else we're not Yotzei. One of them is Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Chemda Tova Rechava. We have to mention that. Why do we have to mention that? Because it's part of Hakar, part of Nodeh L'cha. So we have to be Modeh on Eretz, and it's a Din D'Oraisa. We have to be Modeh on Eretz Yisrael as part of Birchas Hamazon. You should be Modeh. Thank you so much, but no thanks. I'll go somewhere else. Says Eretz Chemda. If you're thinking HaKadosh Baruch Hu Eretz Yisrael, and then you decide, but it's not for me, it's like a child getting a gift. Thanks, Mom. I love it. Here, take it back. I'm not really so interested. Nimsa shenis chayavnu b'tor mitzvah min haTorah lahakir tova l'Hashem Yisbarach v'ancholas haaretz mechalav atashmehein she'asher lios kafui tova u'zalzel b'manas Hashem u'pashut b'tnai rishon b'karas tova zu shelo yimasu b'aretz v'yismachu b'yishivasa. There's Chemda says it's included in Birchas Hamazon. And if somebody lives somewhere else, a bocher l'yishivaso artos chutz la'aretz ma'adifam al Eretz Yisrael. If somebody chooses another land, are you megala b'maisa shu mois b'nachlas Hashem? He's showing that, you know, thanks, but I like other presents. I like other lands more. There's Chemda says in a very creative way. It's included in Birchas Hamazon. So you have Achrim Tachrim in Birchas Hamazon, and one final one suggestion from Rav Shechter in Be'ikvei Hatzon on the top of the next page. Rav Shechter says maybe it's included in the mitzvah of appointing a king. Appointing a king. Appointing a melech, suggests Rav Shechter, is not just appointing a king, but appointing and setting up a Jewish government and a Jewish society in Eretz Yisrael. That's what he says in source number 18. Pshuto nira da'amadas melech lav dafkahu le'ikara shel mitzvah zu hainu hakamas memsheles haYehudim. It is the setting up a Jewish government. Not enough for us to live there and, you know, let other people rule. No, everything is included. All of the setting up of the government is included in the mitzvah Hamadas Melech. So three suggestions given. There is just one other. We're not going to focus on this right now. Besides the idea of the Rambam and the Ramban, there is another idea that the Megillah Esther alluded to, and that is the Gemara about the Shalosh Shvuos, which is at the end of Maseches Ksubos. There's a Gemara that says that Bnei Yisrael took a Shvua at some point in history that we would not go en masse up to Eretz Yisrael. So that's also what the Megillah Esther referred to and the Vayol Moshe referred to. So that is why some say, we're not allowed. There is no mitzvah b'zman hazeh. So that also has been rejected by most of the Achronim. There's been svarim written about rejecting that. Just to mention a few of the ideas. What do you do with the Shalosh Shvuot? So number one, the most basic defense is that that's not a halachic Gemara. It's not quoted by any posek. It's not quoted by the Rif, the Rambam, or the Rosh. It's not quoted by the Tur or the Shulchan Aruch. It's not quoted by anybody. What is it? It's an Agadata. What's the message of the Agadata? Okay, you can sit and get the message, but it's not halacha. Number one. Number two, the Ar Sameach, the great Meshech Chachma, says after the Balfour Declaration, 1917, 1918, his lashon is Sar Pachad HaShvuos. It's not called going up in mass against the nations of the world. We have permission. Sar Pachad HaShvuos, says the Ar Sameach. And finally, number three, just to mention three ideas, is a Rav Shlomo Kluger based on Shulchan Aruch that says, if two people make oaths to each other, I promise you something and you promise me something. If one person violates their oath, then the other person is allowed to violate their oath. The three oaths in Ksubis. One of them was the Jews shouldn't go on and mass Eretz Yisrael. You know what the other one was? If you look there, that the Jews shouldn't be subjugated more than appropriately in their years in Galus. That obviously has been violated by the Crusades and the Holocausts and the pogroms and the libels. So once they violated their part of the bargain, we could violate ours. But either way, Achronim assume that that is not an issue for the Shalosh Shvuos. So, Lamaisa, we take a step back for a minute. After the dust clears, the Rambam and the Ramban both hold there is a mitzvah d'oraisa b'zman hazeh to live in Eretz Yisrael. The question is, so why are there many Jews that don't? So those who can, those who do. What is in the defense, but during all the years of Galus, of people who had the opportunity to go back and didn't go back. So there are those, you look in source 19, Rav Moshe, and this is also said by Rav Soloveitchik, maybe it is a mitzvah. It is a mitzvah, of course, but it's a mitzvah kiyumis, not chiyuvis. Meaning it's a mitzvah that's situated. If you live there, you get a mitzvah, but it's not usher to live outside. Okay, that's true. But many say that tzitzis is also a mitzvah kiyumis. We as observant Jews try to do everything we can to fulfill every mitzvah kiyumis also, not just every mitzvah chiyuvis. So yes, that's true, but we should try to do it. He compares it to tzitzis. Okay, so we do tzitzis. That's one idea though. The Tosfos in Ksubis, source 20, has a famous comment where he says, first of all, maybe it's a sakana today, it's dangerous. In the days of Tosfos, it was dangerous. The Crusades were going on. Couldn't travel, right? It took you weeks to get there, and you didn't know if pirates would assault you or take your money or kill you. That's the sakana that Tosfos is talking about. Hard to say sakana bisman hazeh. And the Hafla even has an amazing comment on that Gemara in Ksubis Kofyud. Right, the Hafla, the Balafla, the Rabbi, the Sam Sofer. The Hafla says, source 21, you only have the taina of ones if without the ones, you would have done it. Right, if somebody is ne'anas and they can't do a mitzvah, what if a person has no money, they can't buy an esrog? If they would have had money, they would have bought the esrog. You only get ki'ilu, you did it, you only get the credit, you can only use it as an excuse if you would have done it without the ones. If you wouldn't have done it without the ones, then you can't use that as an excuse. Says the Hafla. You could only say, ones, sakana, I can't go, if without the ones I would have gone. If I wouldn't have gone anyway, because I'm comfortable, whatever it is, then you can't use that kind of ones. That's a very strong comment from the Hafla. One of my Rabbi many years ago said, it's amazing that in most areas of life, we look for every chumrah in the book. Everybody looks for every chumrah in the book. And to be choshesh for this das yachid, when it comes to the Mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, all of a sudden, it's a very different attitude. Very different attitude by many. Look for every kula in the book. Oh, if you read the Gemara this way and you hold like this, hold like that, then I can live here. We have to be honest. But that's another. So number one, maybe it's a kiyumis. Number two, maybe it's a sakana. Tosfos quoted the second day in the name of Rabbi Chaim Cohen. Maybe it's hard to do the mitzvah satzliyas baretz. Yishuv quotes the Maharit. That has to be a mistake. Since when do we not have to do mitzvahs? Because it's a little more challenging. Hard to do mitzvah satzliyas baretz. So learn about the mitzvah satzliyas baretz. Very hard to suggest that. The Abnei Nezer writes, also a big chiddush. Maybe if somebody lives in Eretz Yisrael but is supported by chutz la'aretz, does not contribute at all to the Israeli economy, so maybe there it's not a full kiyum of the mitzvah. And that's why many of the Rebbes would have had their dynasties outside, would have had to be supported in chutz la'aretz, so maybe that's why they didn't come. He writes about some of the Hasidic Rebbes, which is not true today, because nowadays, even if people get money from chutz la'aretz, they're still contributing to the Israeli economy. They go to the stores, they buy gas, they buy food. So it's still difficult. So there are different suggestions given, but again, after the dust settles, it seems like there's the centrality of Eretz Yisrael. Everybody agrees. Now there is a Trumas Hadeshin. I don't think I gave you the Trumas Hadeshin, but there's a Trumas Hadeshin that says one has to figure out exactly where I could be the best Oved Hashem. And again, the Rambam, the Torah says Eretz Yisrael is the place for Jews to be. And it's not our job to judge anybody. It's our job to figure out a way to fulfill this mitzvah and be the best Jews in Eretz Yisrael as we can. If we can't get there at this moment, if there are other values that are involved, whether it's school, whether it's a wife, whether it's any other issues, family issues, so obviously those come into consideration. In the back of our minds, and hopefully towards the front of our minds, is the issue that Eretz Yisrael is the central part of our lives. And there is, though, just one other point to mention. And that is specifically in our generation. Every generation has a certain tafkid. There's a certain tafkid in their generation. In some generations, the tafkid was like post-Churban Abayis. Right. The question is, was Torah going to stay strong and vibrant without a central Sanhedrin, without a central Bnei Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael? And they kept the Torah vibrant. They wrote the Mishnah and the Gemara. Other generations, right? The challenge was, to stay true to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the face of a false Mashiach. Bar Kochva and Shabtai Tzvi and others. And other generations keeping strong emunah in the face of terrible persecutions, Holocaust and the Crusades and others. What's the challenge of our generation? But they ask that seriously. What's the challenge of our generation? We generally live countries, freedom of religion. Rav Moshe Feinstein writes that America is called the Medina Shel Chesed. Many countries, we have freedom of religion, freedom of moving around, freedom of everything. We're affluent. So what's the challenge of our generation? What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu looking for? So some have pointed out, maybe it's going back to what happened 2,000 years ago. Ezra Sofer sent out letters, come back to Eretz Yisrael. Right? We live in the generation of the post-Holocaust. Dinat Yisrael. It's there. Jews live there. But to live an Orthodox Shomer Torah Mitzvah's life in Eretz Yisrael. And when the Ramban who came to Eretz Yisrael, there wasn't even a minyan in Yerushalayim. Right? And now, look what's there. And it is Nefesh Ben Nefesh. Right? My grandfather came to visit Palestine in 1928. It took him 3 weeks to get here. He went by boat from New York all the way to Egypt, and he took a train from Egypt up to, I don't know where, I think, Yaffo. I don't know exactly where the train went. Check the diary. It was much more challenging. Now you get on a plane, you're there a couple hours later, and the Israeli government throws money at you. We have to recognize, what's the challenge of our generation? To recognize the center of the Jewish future, to recognize, what Eretz Yisrael means for Am Yisrael. And if we can't live there at this moment, we have to try to do our best. Think about the future. Think about our life. Think about where we are heading. There's an amazing Oznayin LaTorah of Sorotskin, one of the Golim from the 1950s, 1960s, in source 28. He writes that we had last week's Parsha Shmini. There's a non-kosher bird. But in Re'eh and Shmini, it's called two different words. One place is called the Ra'ah, and one case is called the Da'ah, the ratio with the Dalet. So the Zayin LaTorah, in the bottom of the page, source 28, he says, Vesadahu Ra'ah, Amur Mr. Torah. He says Da'ah in Shmini, it says Ra'ah in Re'eh. Why is it called the Ra'ah? Because it has amazing vision. Tana, Omedes beBavel veRoa Nevela be'Eretz Yisrael. This bird is so amazing, you could stand in Bavel and see a dead carcass, a nevela in Eretz Yisrael. Unbelievable vision. That's the Gemara in Chulin. Yes, Oznayin LaTorah, if it's such an amazing bird, has such an amazing power of vision, then why is it a non-kosher bird? Why is it non-kosher? If it has such an amazing vision. Says Oznayin LaTorah, such sharp words. It doesn't take a kosher bird, or it's not a kosher bird, if somebody's standing in Bavel and sees nevela in Eretz Yisrael. If somebody's standing in Chutz La'aretz and just looks into Eretz Yisrael and sees what's wrong, the raw nevela of Eretz Yisrael, that's a non-kosher bird. Remez la'anoshim, aroim nevela, Eretz Yisrael, Yishem atzmam omdim b'Bavel. Enabam l'sheves be'Eretz Yisrael la'azor le'ela mishtadlam lasis neshama la'am aleha. Ein that's Torah nochem yiseh. It's our job to recognize that wherever we are, we have to speak positively about Eretz Yisrael, to recognize it's a matana. Remember the Gemara, the first statement that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai said in all of Shas, Brachas Daf Hey. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai Omer, Shalosh matanos tovos, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. There were three gifts that Hashem has given us: Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba. Rav Yerucham writes in one of his Svarim, each of these are part and parcel of every Jew. And if we're missing any part of it, any part of them, so then we're missing a large chelek. If we're missing Olam Haba, obviously we're missing Torah, Eretz Yisrael. Right now, there are many that are here, and those of you who are, zooming in, we know where your hearts are. We know where you want to be. And we know where B'ez Hashem you'll be next year. But for right now, or as soon as possible, if not sooner, but we have to recognize that any attitude that we have to make sure that we keep Eretz Yisrael in our heart, in our minds. Obviously, to live there at some point in our lives when there's independence and there's decisions that can be made. But until that point, if we're not there yet, and if we're not physically there yet right now either, we have to try to do what we can to keep it central in our minds, to keep it central in our hearts, to know that halachically, the Ruba of the Rishonim, if not all the Rishonim, all that it's a mitzvah, not all, to say, but Ruba of the Rishonim say it's a mitzvah of Bisman Hazeh, and we have to do what we can to try to fulfill this amazing definitional mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Okay, we'll stop here. Again, there's a lot more to talk about, but we'll leave that for now. And B'ez Hashem, we will continue. My shir, we'll see you at